4 or 5 years, I've been burning letters for my dead girlfriend. Rain or shine, I never missed a single anniversary. Until today, when a gorgeous new CEO transferred to our company, cornered me in my office, and, with tears in her eyes, jabbed a finger in my chest. "I heard you've been sending me mail every year," she accused. "Something about a beach house in Malibu and 99 Cabana Boys." My brain short-circuited. Why did this woman look exactly like my dead ex-girlfriend? It was the anniversary. I was kneeling on the bluff overlooking the city lights, our old spot, carefully feeding a handwritten letter into a small, crackling fire in a metal bucket. The flames danced across my face as I mumbled the words I'd written. "Scarlett, it's another year. Sending you some cash, so don't go pinching pennies over there. I'm also throwing in the new iPhone 18, a beach house in Malibu, and 99 Cabana Boys to keep you company. Don't say I never gave you anything." An old man walking his dog paused beside me. "Son," he said, his voice a low whisper, "a little something for remembrance is fine, but you're promising her mansions and boy toys. What if she takes you seriously and comes back to collect?" I sighed, tossing the last piece of the letter into the flames. "You don't understand, sir. I owe her. 5 years ago, my ex-girlfriend, Scarlett Vance, died in an accident. I saw the out-of-control truck hit her with my own eyes. I saw her wheeled into the crematorium with my own eyes. We'd been fighting at the time, on the verge of a breakup over some stupid misunderstanding, but she had always been the one for me. Ever since, on the anniversary of her death, I've come here to send her a letter. At first, it was just simple stuff. Then my idiot friends found out and called me cheap, saying Scarlett was probably living in a slum in the afterlife. Ethan, you gotta think bigger. Send her a mansion, a Porsche. Yeah, man. And 99 paper dolls of male servants, so she can live like a queen over there. So, thanks to their peer pressure, the things I sent her got more and more ridiculous. Back at the office the next day, I had barely settled into my chair when my department manager, Leo, waddled over, a conspiratorial glint in his eye. "Ethan, you hear the news? We're getting a new CEO from corporate today. Word is she's a real killer." I grunted, completely uninterested, and opened my laptop, ready to coast through the day. A new CEO? What did that have to do with a bottom-rung drone like me? And get this, she's supposed to be a total knockout. Leo waggled his eyebrows. "Ethan, my man, with your looks, this is your golden ticket. If the new CEO takes a shine to you, our whole department could be living the high life." I waved him away impatiently. Yeah, keep dreaming, Leo. Get back to work." At 10 a.m., the whole company was summoned for an all-hands meeting. Everyone was craning their necks, eager to get a look at the new boss. When she walked onto the stage, it felt like a bolt of lightning shot through me. She wore a sleek black power suit that hugged her tall, flawless figure. Her long hair cascaded down her back. Her face was exquisitely beautiful, and her cool eyes held an intimidating, keep-your-distance aura. It was her. It was Scarlett, the woman who, in my memory, had been turned to ash. I pinched my thigh hard. The sharp pain confirmed this wasn't a dream. How was this possible? Wasn't she dead? My mind went blank, a roaring static filling my ears. On stage, Scarlett's gaze swept across the crowd before landing, with unnerving precision, right on me. Our eyes locked. A complex storm of emotions flashed in her eyes. Surprise, fury, and a flicker of something else. A deep, undeniable hurt. My heart skipped a beat. She really did recognize me. I didn't hear a single word of the meeting. My brain was a tangled mess of questions. What the hell happened these last 5 years? How did she come back from the dead? And why in God's name was she now my supreme commander? When the meeting ended, Leo slapped my shoulder, practically vibrating with excitement. "Ethan, you see that? The new boss looked right at you. I swear, she was looking right at you. I'm telling you, man, your ship has finally come in." I forced a bitter smile. My ship? More like my funeral barge. I was back at my desk when the CEO's assistant clicked over in her heels, her voice crisp. "Ethan Hayes? Ms. Vance will see you in her office." The air in our section of the office instantly froze. Every single head swiveled in my direction, their faces a mixture of shock, envy, and pure, unadulterated jealousy. Leo looked like he was about to pass out, mouthing, "Seize the opportunity," at me while making frantic hand gestures. I took a deep breath, feeling like I was walking the Green Mile, and stood up. The time had come. The door to the CEO's office was solid oak, heavy enough to feel suffocating. I knocked. Come in. The voice from inside was cool and terrifyingly familiar. I pushed the door open. Scarlett was standing with her back to me, looking out the massive floor-to-ceiling window at the river of traffic below. Her silhouette was still as slender as I remembered, but it now radiated a strength you couldn't ignore. Ms. Vance? You wanted to see me? My throat felt like sandpaper. She didn't turn around. Her voice was ice. Ethan, it's been a long time. Yes, it has. My palms were sweating so much I could feel them drip. The silence that followed was heavy and awful. So, I hear you've been sending me mail every year. She finally turned, her beautiful eyes pinning me to the spot. My stomach dropped. My scalp prickled. How did she know about that? Was there a snitch in the office? Or did she have spies in the afterlife? Staring at that face, so familiar yet so alien, I had no idea how to respond. Admit it? Deny it? Cat got your tongue? Scarlett walked toward me, the sharp click of her heels on the hardwood floor echoing my frantic heartbeat. She stopped right in front of me, and a faint, familiar floral scent filled my nose. The same perfume she wore 5 years ago. A beach house in Malibu. I said nothing. 99 Cabana Boys. Still nothing. Ethan, she suddenly snapped, her voice rising as her eyes turned red. Did you really want me dead that badly? Her shout, paradoxically, clear my head. I looked at her tear-filled eyes, and the 5 years of confusion and grief I'd bottled up finally erupted. Me want you dead. I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Scarlett, you tell me. What the hell happened 5 years ago? I saw the truck hit you. I saw you taken to the crematorium. For 5 years, I've been half dead myself. And now you just waltz in here, my new boss, and start grilling me. My voice grew louder until I was practically roaring. What right did she have? For 5 years, I thought she was gone. I wrote her letters. I mourned her, and all this time, she was alive and well, transforming herself into some kind of corporate queen. And me? I was the idiot she left behind. My outburst seemed to stun her. The anger in her eyes faded, replaced by a sheen of tears. She opened her mouth, as if to explain, but then closed it again. The standoff resumed. Ring, ring. The desk phone shrilled, breaking the tension. Scarlett took a shaky breath, turned, and answered it. Her voice was instantly back to its icy, professional tone. What is it? Ms. Vance? Mark from marketing is here. He says it's an urgent matter. Her assistant's voice crackled through the speaker. Send him in. She hung up, and, without looking at me, tossed out a cold dismissal. You can go. We'll discuss your performance later. I felt like a defeated dog as I slunk out of her office. The moment the heavy door clicked shut behind me, I thought I heard a muffled sob from inside. Did I just make her cry? I walked back to my desk in a daze. The entire marketing department was staring at me like I'd just landed from Mars. Leo was the first to break the spell, dragging me into a corner. He lowered his voice, his face a billboard of gossip. Ethan, spill. You and the boss have a history, don't you? Still reeling, I gave him a non-answer. You could say that. Holy crap. Leo slapped his thigh. I knew it. The way she looked at you. Dude, you've been holding out on us. What's the story? Exes. The guy's gossip radar was more advanced than NORAD's. I didn't want to talk about it. Just drop it. All right. I'll drop it, Leo said with a grin. But seriously, man, you got to play this right. You see, Mark? He went in there to give a report and came out 3 minutes later looking like his dog just died. I heard Ms. Vance ripped his proposal to shreds and told him to start from scratch or start packing. A chill went down my spine. It was true. The Scarlett I knew was gone. She was no longer the girl who would blush at a single compliment. She was a cutthroat CEO. What did she mean? We'll discuss your performance later. Was she going to use her power to get revenge and fire me? The thought made my stomach churn. I was on edge for the rest of the afternoon. Just before quitting time, a new notification popped up on the company-wide Slack channel from the CEO's office. Announcement. To drive core company growth, the Project Nova initiative will be launched, effective immediately. The The project will be led personally by CEO Scarlett Vance. Project member, Ethan Hayes, Marketing Department. Beneath the announcement, there was only one name. Mine. The office erupted. Whoa, what the hell is Project Nova? Sounds huge. Just Ethan? What kind of move is that? With the CEO leading it personally? Ethan's about to hit the big time. The murmurs of my colleagues were like 1,000 tiny needles. Leo threw his arm around my neck, shaking me with glee. Ethan, you made it, buddy. I knew it. I knew there was something between you and Ms. Vance. I couldn't feel a shred of happiness. This wasn't Project Nova. This was Project Revenge. She was putting me directly under her thumb, where she could torture me whenever she pleased. I could already see the long, dark road ahead. Sure enough, less than a minute after the announcement, my Slack pinged. It was a direct message from Scarlett. Terse and to the point. Scarlett Vance, my office. Now, I sighed in resignation and headed back to the lion's den. This time, I didn't even bother knocking. I just pushed the door open. Ms. Vance, what can I do for you? I stood before her desk, my tone clipped. Scarlett looked up, a playful, almost cruel glint in her eyes. From this day forward, you are the one and only member of Project Nova. Your duties are simple. Be on call for me, 24/7. You will handle everything I need. Everything. I frowned. Including personal matters? What do you think? A small smile played on her lips, and it sent a shiver down my spine. I clenched my jaw. Ms. Vance, this is personal retaliation. And what if it is? She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms, her posture both lazy and domineering. Ethan, you wrote me off as dead for 5 years. Did you really expect me to welcome you with open arms? I was speechless. You have two options. She held up 2 slender fingers. 1, you accept. 2, you clean out your desk. Was that even a choice? I had just bought a condo, saddled with a 30-year mortgage. If I got fired now, I'd be sleeping on the street next month. I choose 1. I ground out from between my teeth. Excellent. Scarlett nodded, satisfied. Then here is your first assignment. She paused, her red lips parting slightly. Go get me a mango passion fruit smoothie. Light on the agave, no protein powder. Then go get an order of the spicy pulled pork nachos from that food truck on Miller Avenue. No jalapenos, extra sour cream. I froze. Every single one of those details. They were from the list of her favorites I used to keep in the notes app on my phone. She still remembered. Seeing my stunned expression, Scarlett raised an eyebrow. What? Can't handle it. I can handle it, I said, turning on my heel. As I reached the door, her cool voice followed me. Ethan, this is just the beginning. My hand paused on the doorknob. I didn't look back. I just pulled the door open and walked out. Yeah, I knew. This was just the beginning. The game of revenge had officially begun. After driving halfway across the city, I finally managed to buy everything Scarlett had ordered. By the time I got back to the office, the sky was dark. The only light on our floor came from the CEO's office. I walked in carrying the food. Scarlett was on the couch, rubbing her temples, looking completely worn out. Ms. Vance, your order. I placed everything on the coffee table. She opened her eyes, glanced at me, then at the nachos and the smoothie on the table. Her expression was complicated. You remembered, she said softly. Of course. It's my job to remember my boss's requests. I replied, my face a perfect mask of professionalism. My by-the-book attitude seemed to annoy her. She didn't say anything else, just quietly picked up the nachos and began to eat in small, delicate bites. Just like she used to, I stood off to the side, like a butler waiting for his next order. Sit down and have some, she said suddenly. No, that's okay, I said sit down. Her tone left no room for argument. I had no choice but to sit on the chair opposite her. The two of us, a single order of nachos, and an atmosphere so thick with tension you could cut it with a knife. She ate slowly, lost in thought. After a long while, she put the food down and looked up at me. Ethan, do you hate me? I hadn't expected such a direct question. Hate her? Of course I did. I hated her for leaving without a word. I hated her for letting me grieve like a fool for 5 years. But looking at her exhausted face now, at the weariness in her eyes, a deep part of my heart ached for her. No, I finally lied. Scarlett let out a cold laugh. Liar, you're dying to strangle me. She knew me too well. The car crashed 5 years ago. I didn't die. She seemed to have made up her mind and finally began to explain. I was taken away by my father's people. My world tilted. Her father? She'd never once mentioned her family. My father is one of the Fiancés of New York, she said slowly. He never approved of us. He staged the accident to make me disappear from your life completely. I was taken back to New York, forced into the family business. 4 or 5 years, Ethan, there wasn't a single day I didn't think about you. The Fiancés of New York. I'd heard of them. One of the country's wealthiest and most powerful dynasties. Untouchable. So, the ordinary girl I had fallen in love with was actually an heiress. The irony was suffocating. Then why didn't you contact me? I managed to ask, my voice tight with emotion. I couldn't. Scarlett's eyes were red again. They took all my devices. I was watched 24 hours a day. I tried to run away, but they always caught me. It wasn't until I proved myself, until I secured my own position in the company, that I finally earned my freedom. She looked me straight in the eye, her every word deliberate. And the very first thing I did was come find you. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. So, she hadn't abandoned me. She had been thinking of me, too. In that moment, 5 years of resentment, confusion, and pain seemed to find a release. Do you have any idea what I wanted to say? I thought you were dead. I burned letters for you for 5 years. But the words felt pathetic now. I know, Scarlett interrupted, her voice trembling slightly. It's the talk of the office. I know you went to our spot every year. She paused, then suddenly stood up from the couch and walked over to me. Then, to my utter shock, she leaned down, planting her hands on the arms of my chair, trapping me. We were inches apart. I could see each of her long eyelashes, see her pupils dilate with emotion. Ethan, she whispered, her voice low and husky. All those Cabana boys you sent me. Does that mean you still love me? My brain crashed. What did she just say? Did I still love her? Her warm breath washed over my face, her familiar scent sending my heart into a frenzy. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Did I love her? If I didn't, why would I have held on to that ritual for 5 years? If I didn't, why was I so completely undone by her return? Answer me. Scarlett leaned in closer, her nose almost touching mine. Look me in the eye and tell me, do you still love me? Her gaze was a whirlpool, pulling my very soul into it. I looked at her, and for a second I saw the girl from 5 years ago, the one in a white sundress with 2 dimples when she smiled. As if possessed, I raised my hand and cupped her cheek. Her skin was still so smooth, so real it made my heart ache. Scarlett. I murmured her name. Her body trembled slightly. The ice and power in her eyes melted away, replaced by an ocean of tenderness. I'm here, she whispered back. Just as the atmosphere grew thick with unspoken feelings, just as I was about to follow my heart and say the words I'd buried for 5 long years. Ahem. A cough from the doorway shattered the moment. We sprang apart like we'd been electrocuted. I whipped my head around to see Leo standing there, looking mortified, holding a damn fruit basket. Ms. Vance, Ethan. I just saw you were working late and wanted to bring you a little something. I didn't see anything. You too. Carry on. Leo dropped the basket on the floor and tried to bolt. Stop. Scarlett's voice was once again pure ice. Leo froze mid-stride, turning back with a pained expression. Ms. Vance, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to. Scarlett shot me a glare that clearly said, this is your fault, before turning back to Leo. Manager Leo, is there something you need this late? No. Leo shook his head so hard it was a blur. Just heard Ethan made it into Project Nova. I was just coming by to congratulate him. Even a ghost wouldn't believe that excuse. Is that so? Scarlett smiled, a knowing, dangerous smile. How thoughtful of you to care so much for your subordinates, Manager Leo. A true role model. Not at all. Not at all, Leo stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. Well, since you're here, let's have a chat. Scarlett sat back down on the couch, crossing her legs. I have some thoughts about the marketing department's plan for the next quarter. The color drained from Leo's face. I silently lit a candle for him in my mind. For the next hour, Scarlett was a force of nature. She systematically dismantled Leo's performance and the entire marketing department's track record, assigning him a dozen nearly impossible new targets. Leo just stood there, nodding and bowing, sweating buckets, too terrified to utter a peep. I sat on the sidelines, watching the queen on her throne and the groveling ant before her, and I almost had a laugh. So this was the power of money. Finally, Scarlett seemed to tire of her lecture. She waved a hand dismissively. That's all for today. Go back and drop a new plan. I want on my desk by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Yes, of course. Leo scrambled out of the office as if he'd been granted a presidential pardon. Once again, it was just the two of us. The charged atmosphere from before was completely gone. Ms. Vance, if there's nothing else, I'll be heading home, I said, getting up to make my own escape. Wait, she called out. I stopped and looked back at her. Ethan, she said, her eyes serious. You never answered my question. She was circling back. I took a deep breath, deciding to stop running. Yes. I looked her straight in the eye and answered honestly. I still love you. The words were both the hardest and the easiest I'd ever said. It felt like a mountain had been lifted from my chest. Scarlett's eyes lit up like stars igniting in the night sky. She smiled, a grin so bright it could melt glaciers, and it stole my breath for a second. I knew it, she said, tilting her chin up like a proud peacock. But a second later, the smile vanished, replaced by a pout. Then why did you send me so many cabana boys, she accused, puffing out her cheeks. I guess we weren't letting that go. It was my stupid friends. They were just joking around. I mumbled. I don't care, she said, acting like a spoiled child. You sent them, so you have to take responsibility. Responsibility? How? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What do you want me to do? Actually hire 99 guys for you. That won't be necessary. Her eyes darted mischievously. One of you is more than enough. My stomach dropped. I had a bad feeling about this. From now on, you're not just my assistant, she declared. You're also my exclusive boyfriend. Hold on. I cut her off. Ms. Vance, what is this? An office romance? You're the CEO? I'm just a low-level employee. The gap between us is huge. 5 years ago, I didn't know she was an heiress. I could love her without any baggage. But now I knew. The Vancess of New York. I wasn't even qualified to look up at a family like that. The gap. Scarlett scoffed. Ethan, have you forgotten who grabbed my hand 5 years ago and promised that no matter what happened, you would never let me go? Of course I remembered. It was my promise to her. But, no buts, she said, her tone firm. I don't care about the Vancess, and I don't care about being a CEO. All I know is that I love you, and you love me. That's all that matters. She paused, her voice softening, pleading. Ethan, these 5 years have been hell for me. I thought about you every single day. It was the only thing that kept me going. Now that I'm finally back, are you really going to push me away again because of some stupid status gap? Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. I looked at her red-rimmed eyes, at the vulnerability and desperation in them, and I couldn't say no. She was right. We had already lost 5 years. How many more could we afford to waste? To hell with the status gap. To hell with her powerful family. I closed the distance between us and pulled her into a fierce hug. I'm sorry, I whispered in her ear. I'm so sorry I let you suffer. Her body trembled in my arms, and then she wrapped her arms around me, holding on just as tight. Don't you ever do it again, she mumbled into my chest, her voice thick with emotion. If you dare lose me again, I'll go find those 99 cabana boys you sent me for real. Her words made me laugh, and the last of my reservations melted away. Never again, I said, tightening my grip, as if I could fuse her into my very bones. This time, I'm never letting go. The next day, I showed up at the office with 2 giant dark circles under my eyes. I couldn't help it. Scarlett and I had stayed up half the night talking, pouring out the stories of our last 5 years. By the time I dropped her off and got back to my own dump of an apartment, the sun was already threatening to rise. The second I walked in, Leo materialized at my side. So, Ethan, he said with a knowing smirk, how'd the battle go last night? I ignored him and yawned. What battle? Ms. Vance just gave me some one-on-one coaching about the marketing department's 10-year strategic plan. Leo looked unconvinced. That's it? A man and a woman, alone in an office until midnight, and all you did was talk about work. What else would we do? I shot him a look. Leo, instead of gossiping, you should probably get started on that new proposal. Ms. Vance said she wants it by 9. Leo's face fell. With a pathetic groan, He trudged back to his desk. I just sat down when my Slack pinged. Scarlett Vance, my office. There it was again. I sighed and got up. When I opened the door, Scarlett was behind her desk, looking fresh and energetic as she powered through a stack of documents. You'd never guess she'd been up all night. Women are truly a mystery. Morning, Ms. Vance, I said in my most professional voice. She looked up, and a smile touched her lips when she saw the dark circles under my eyes. Didn't sleep well? Thanks to you, I grumbled. There's an important business gala tonight. You're coming with me. She pulled a gold-embossed invitation from a drawer and handed it to me. I glanced at it. It was for a dinner hosted by the Sterlings, one of the wealthiest families in the city. The guest list would be a who's who of the rich and powerful. As your assistant, it's my duty to accompany you, I said, nodding. What do I need to prepare? Just yourself. Her eyes scanned my outfit, a faded plaid shirt and jeans. She wrinkled her nose in disgust. Although not in that. She stood up, walked over, and grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the door. Hey, Ms. Vance, where are we going? To buy you a suit, she said without looking back. And just like that, we walked hand in hand out of her office and across the entire marketing department floor. Jaws dropped. Leo's mouth hung open wide enough to fit an egg, and the pen in his hand clattered to the floor. I could feel dozens of eyes on us like searchlights. I was so embarrassed my toes were trying to dig a hole through my shoes. Scarlett, however, didn't seem to care at all. She held her head high and marched on as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Ms. Vance, this probably isn't a good look, right? I whispered. What's not good about it? She glanced at me, a sly, cat-like grin on her face. I'm taking my exclusive boyfriend shopping. Does anyone have a problem with that? All right, then. You're the boss. We went to the most luxurious mall in the city. Scarlett dragged me into a ridiculously expensive-looking menswear store. A saleswoman with flawless makeup greeted us warmly. Welcome. How can I help you today? When her eyes landed on my cheap plaid shirt, the warmth in her expression dropped by half, replaced by a subtle hint of disdain. Find him a suit. Something for a gala, Scarlett said coolly. The saleswoman paused, glanced at me again, then pasted on a professional smile. Of course, sir. And what is your budget for today? Budget? Scarlett laughed, as if she'd heard the world's funniest joke. She pulled a sleek black card from her wallet and tossed it on the counter. There is no budget. It was a plain black card with a simple, elegant logo I didn't recognize, but it screamed money. The saleswoman's eyes widened when she saw it. The fake smile on her face instantly morphed into one of genuine, fawning sincerity. Right away. Of course. She was practically bowing. This way, sir. We just received a new limited edition, handmade Italian suit. There are only 10 in the world. I'll go get it for you to try on. I was floored by how fast her attitude changed. Was this the power of a black card? For the next hour, I was a human mannequin. Scarlett sat on the plush sofa like a queen, directing the show as I tried on suit after suit. That color's too dark. It makes you look old. The cut on that one is all wrong. It makes your legs look short. That one is okay. Do a turn. I spun around like a toy soldier while the saleswoman and her staff buzzed around me, spouting an endless stream of compliments. Sir, you have a wonderful physique. A natural model. That suit looks even better on you than it does on the runway models. So handsome, like a prince straight out of a fairy tale. I was so embarrassed I could feel goosebumps breaking out all over my skin. Finally, Scarlett gave a satisfied nod. That's the one. And bag up everything else he's wearing now, plus all the other suits he tried on. The saleswoman's voice trembled with excitement. Oh, of course, ma'am. All of them. All of them. Scarlett didn't even glance at her. She pointed to the display cases. And get him shoes, ties, cufflinks, and a watch to match. The works. I quickly grabbed her arm. You don't have to buy so much. It's a waste. I had snuck a peek at a price tag earlier. One suit was 6 figures. All of this had to be close to $1 million. Spending money on you is never a waste, Scarlett said, patting my hand, her tone leaving no room for argument. The sales staff were now looking at us not just with envy, but with pure awe. They were probably writing a whole romance novel in their heads. The billionaire CEO and her boy toy. When it was time to pay, the saleswoman presented the black card to Scarlett with both hands, as if it were a sacred artifact. Your card, ma'am. Scarlett took it, and immediately pushed it into my hand. "What's this for?" I asked, confused. "It's yours," she said, as if it were obvious. "The pin is your birthday." The thin piece of plastic felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "I can't take this," I said, trying to give it back. "Why not?" Scarlett frowned. "It's too much. Besides, I'm a man. I can't just take your money." It was the last shred of my pride talking. "Ethan," Scarlett's face hardened, "are you still treating me like an outsider? I told you what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. Or what? Do you think you're going to make less money than me in the future?" That last sentence was a clear challenge. My competitive streak flared up. "Of course not." "Then what's the problem?" She stuffed the card back into my hand. "Consider it an advance on my future husband's allowance. If it really bothers you that much, you could just pay me back later. With interest." She'd cornered me. Refusing now would just be petty. I finally pocketed the card, making a silent vow to myself that one day, she'd be the one spending my money. We walked out a mall loaded with shopping bags, looking like we'd just successfully robbed the place. That night, the gala was glittering with high society. Dressed in my ridiculously expensive new suit, with a radiant Scarlett on my arm, we were the center of attention the moment we walked in. "Isn't that the new CEO of Vance Industries? She's so young and beautiful. Who's the man with her? I've never seen him before. He's quite handsome. He must be someone important to be her date." I could hear the whispers all around us, and my nerves started to fray. Scarlett must have sensed it because she squeezed my hand. "Relax," she murmured. "Straighten your back. You're the most handsome man in the room tonight." Her words were all the encouragement I needed. The woman I loved was by my side. What was there to be afraid of? We were chatting with a few business partners when an oily voice cut in. Well, if it isn't Ms. Vance, we're honored by your presence." I turned to see a slick-haired young man in a flashy suit sauntering toward us, a smirk on his face. Trailing behind him was someone I definitely didn't want to see, my old colleague, Chad. Chad had been a thorn in my side back at the office, always trying to one-up me. He was eventually fired for embezzling company funds. I never expected to run into him here. He was practically bowing to the slick-haired guy, but when he saw me, his eyes flashed with jealousy and venom. "Mr. Sterling," Scarlett said, her smile polite, but her eyes cool as she acknowledged the newcomer. "And who is this?" Sterling's eyes raked over me, full of judgment and hostility. Before Scarlett could answer, Chad jumped in. "Mr. Sterling, that's Ethan Hayes. He's just an old co-worker of mine, some low-level corporate drone. I have no idea how a loser like him managed to sneak into a place like this." Chad said it just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Instantly, the way people looked at me changed. "Oh, so he's just a pretty boy." I could feel the waves of scorn and disdain. My grip on my champagne flute tightened. Sterling's smirk widened. He looked at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe, then turned back to Scarlett. "Ms. Vance, your taste is certainly unique. To think you'd pass over so many eligible bachelors for this piece of work." The insult was blatant. A hot surge of anger flared in my chest. I was about to say something, but Scarlett put a hand on my arm, stopping me. She looked at Sterling, her smile never faltering, but her words were laced with ice. "Mr. Sterling, what piece of work my man is not for you to comment on." She paused, then tightened her grip on my arm and addressed the onlookers. "Allow me to formally introduce you all. This is Ethan Hayes, my fiancé." Fiancé. The word dropped like a bomb in the middle of the ballroom. Everyone stared, stunned into silence, including me. I gaped at Scarlett, my brain rebooting. Did she just say what I thought she said? Sterling's face turned the color of a plum. He clearly hadn't expected Scarlett to humiliate him so publicly. Chad was so jealous his eyes were practically glowing red. He stared at me with enough hatred to kill. "Fiancé," Sterling stammered. "Ms. Vance, you can't be serious. Do I need to report my engagement to you?" Scarlett's eyes went cold, her powerful aura crushing him. Or is it that the Sterling family business is doing a little too well lately? It was a naked threat. Sweat poured down Sterling's face. His family was rich, but compared to the Vances of New York, they were nothing. Scarlett could ruin them with a single phone call. "No. Of course not." Sterling's arrogance evaporated. He forced a smile that was more like a grimace. "My mistake. I'll drink to that. 3 glasses, as an apology to you, Miss Vance and to Mr. Hayes. He actually grabbed 3 glasses of champagne off a passing tray and downed them in quick succession. Then he shot Chad a murderous glare that screamed, "You idiot! Look at the mess you've made." Chad was trembling, his face as white as a sheet. "Get out," Scarlett said, her voice dripping with contempt. As if granted a pardon, Sterling grabbed the terrified Chad and practically ran out of the room. The drama was over. The onlookers quickly dispersed, but now, when they looked at me, it was with a newfound sense of awe and curiosity. I still hadn't recovered from a shock of the word fiancé. Scarlett led me to a quiet corner. What you said back there?" I tried to form a sentence. "What about it?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Was I wrong? You don't want to marry me?" "Yes, of course I do," I blurted out. "Well, there you go," she said matter-of-factly. "It's going to happen eventually. What's wrong with announcing it a little early?" Looking at her, so fierce and yet so adorable, I couldn't help but smile. "What are you smiling at?" she demanded. "Nothing." I shook my head and gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "I was just thinking, I think I really hit the jackpot." Scarlett's face flushed a brilliant shade of red. The powerful queen who had just obliterated 2 men with her words was suddenly back to being the girl who blushed at a single compliment from me. "Smooth talker," she muttered, but she couldn't hide the smile in her eyes. The party continued, but my mind was elsewhere. The word fiancé was playing on a loop in my head. I looked at the radiant woman by my side, and a wave of pride and responsibility washed over me. She was mine. The thought made my blood sing. After the gala, Scarlett didn't have me drive her home. Instead, she gave a driver my address. "Ms. Vance, I don't think that's..." I started, my nerves jumping. My apartment was a disaster. I couldn't let the magnificent Scarlett Vance see it. "What's not appropriate?" She leaned back against the seat, closing her eyes. "It's my fiancé's house. Am I not allowed to visit? Right?" She was really leaning into this whole fiancé thing. When I opened the door to my apartment, the smell of instant ramen hit us. A few stray socks were scattered on the floor. I wanted to die of embarrassment. It's a little messy. Just wait out here. I'll clean up a bit." I desperately tried to block her from coming in, but Scarlett just pushed past me, completely unfazed. She looked around the tiny, 300-square-foot studio. There wasn't a hint of disgust on her face, only a thoughtful curiosity. "Ethan," she said suddenly, "this is where you've been living for the past 5 years?" "Yeah," I said, scratching my head sheepishly. She walked to the window and looked out at the peeling paint on the building next door and the noisy food stalls on the street below. She was quiet for a long time. Then she turned to me, her eyes red once again. "I'm so sorry," she said. "If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have had to live like this." Before I met her, my family was comfortable if not rich. But to pay for what I thought were her medical bills, and to give her a proper funeral, I had spent every last penny I had and gone deep into debt. It's all in the past. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind. "You're back now. Everything's going to be okay." "I know," she nodded, leaning back against me. "Ethan," she said, turning in my arms. She stood on her toes and gave me a soft, quick kiss on the lips. "Let's get married." I froze for the second time that day. It was all happening too fast. Assistant to boyfriend to fiancé to husband. We were skipping a few steps, weren't we? "What? You don't want to?" She saw my hesitation and started to frown again. No. I rushed to explain. "Of course I want to. I dream about marrying you. But isn't this a little sudden?" "Is it?" she challenged. "We've already wasted 5 years. I don't want to wait another day." She looked at me, her gaze piercingly honest. "Ethan, I don't feel safe. I'm scared this is all just a dream, and when I wake up, you'll be gone. I won't be able to relax until I have that marriage certificate in my hand." The vulnerability in her eyes broke my heart. She was right. I wasn't the only one who had suffered these past 5 years. She had been all alone, trapped in a world she didn't want, fighting just to get back to me. I cupped her face in my hands and looked at her with all the seriousness I could muster. "Okay, let's get married." There were no flowers, no ring, not even a proper proposal. But we both knew that this promise was more binding than any ceremony. "But," I said, my voice dropping as a wicked smile spread across my face, "before we get married, there's one thing we have to do." "What's that?" Scarlett asked, confused. I swept her up into my arms and carried her toward my creaky little bed. It's time, I whispered, to prove why you don't need those other 98 guys.